gardening genes. Kathy here. It is a very, very windy day today, and I know you're going to hear some of that wind on this video, so please bear with me. But it's actually a very nice day. It's in the mid-80s, high humidity, and I think that today would be a nice day to take a walk through some other areas of the garden. Today I'd like to show you some of the perennials that are in bloom. I showed you hydrangeas last week, but those areas also have a lot of perennials. And in particular, today I would like to show you the two areas that we call Tom's Wall and the Moai Garden. Now here we are looking at what we call Tom's Wall, and you probably can hear him doing some watering in the background. This is some all gold Echinacea grass, and I have to say once again, one of my favorites. And I just love the movement in the wind. This color holds whether it's in sun or shade. Just a all-around very, very nice grass, and one that doesn't get too out of control. And one of our little lovely ladies of the garden with the Gatsby Moon oak leaf hydrangea. And then this is carex grass. Another very, very nice grass. It actually is evergreen. Now you'll probably notice there is creeping Jenny all over the ground. I didn't actually plant it there. It's an escapee from a planter I had at one point. But at this point I just sort of leave it be. And I went very, very simple with these planters this year. This is Snow Princess lobularia with some Dusty Miller. Very simple, but I think that it actually plays off of the wall very, very nicely. Further up the wall, one of the plants that we have here, it's called Autumn Brilliance Fern because it starts out with a very orangey color. But this is also a semi-evergreen fern, and unless we have a really bad winter, it hangs in there all winter. And then we have some variegated liriope here. That will be blooming later on in the season. Pretty purple flower. And this is also a Japanese forest grass, a Echinacea grass. But what's interesting here is that the very yellow one that's at the bottom, that's the aureola, and that's the one that I planted here. But somewhere along the line, it reverted back to a solid green version. And then we also have these lovely little daylilies. This is the type that's commonly called a ditch lily because you do find them growing wild along the sides of the road. But I think they look rather pretty here, and it's a nice contrast to the blue hydrangea. At the right-hand corner of the Moai Bed, there is a very large Rheingold arborvitae. It is a dwarf, although it's huge now, but it's very, very slow growing. And the nice thing about it is when the new growth comes out, it's a very orangey red. And right now it's in its summer coloration. Next to it is a Bobo hydrangea. And when I was doing the hydrangea video a week or so ago, this one really hadn't done much yet, but you can see that the flowers are now opening. It's a very pure white hydrangea, and it is absolutely covered in flowers. Above that, on the upper level, is a lilac, a paladin Korean lilac that I showed you earlier in the season that was blooming beautifully. Down here, this is penstemon, and the penstemon, we had very, very heavy rains last night, and it's finished blooming, so it's kind of fallen over. I'll probably come out here and cut it back. But right here, you can see that the Moai Bed is actually on 2 levels with a very substantial stone wall between them. You can see the boulders that make up the stone wall here. And here is a cute garden sign that Tom got me last year for Christmas. And you can see all of the Echinacea are really starting to come into their own at this point. And back there is one of the Moai that this bed is named for. Little Easter Island head. Below it you can see a nice daylily in bloom. The sun has popped out, and so you can really see this daylily, this Pandora's box daylily. As we move along, the taller plants in here are actually monkshood. It blooms in September with a gorgeous blue flower. It is a poisonous plant, and I kind of wish that I had planted it somewhere outside of the fence. It really doesn't need to be fenced, but it's one of those plants that does not take well to being moved. So it looks like it's going to stay here. And the empty areas on the ground are where there were spring bulbs. And there is Moai number 2, kind of hiding behind some of the foxglove. The foxglove is really ready to be pulled at this point. Most of the seed pods have turned brown, and that is when I like to collect them. And I've been pulling them down, but I still have some that have to go. And on this corner is the bloom-struck hydrangea that I showed in the hydrangea video, although right now it's really starting to develop its purple color. I really think it's very pretty. And next to that is Obedient Plant, which again is not going to be in bloom until August. And right down there, there's a little hydrangea that I did not show during the hydrangea tour. That is a wee white. And I put it in here to kind of protect it and see how it would do, but this is its 3rd year and it's done wonderfully. So I really should be moving that, but I won't move it until next spring. And here in the shade of the bloom-struck hydrangea is another daylily. This one is Stella in purple. And I am absolutely amazed at how well this one blooms because it is in nearly full shade. But it's been there for years and it's been blooming beautifully for years. Now as we come across the path, there is a lovely little hydrangea here that I did not include when I did the hydrangea video because it really wasn't doing anything at the time. But look at the flowers now. This is a macrophylla hydrangea called Pistachio, and it's very unique for those pink and green flowers. Really nice. So down a little bit from the Pistachio hydrangea, we have an autumn clematis. It's climbing up a tudier and it's also climbing on the fence. This is not going to bloom until probably right around the 1st of August, maybe a little after that. It ends up being covered with a cloud of little white flowers and it's absolutely beautiful. I am surprised though this year that it is getting chomped on. You can see here where there are some tips that are gone. And it's kind of funny because the deer have always left this alone, and for some reason this year they're not. So let's walk up the path to the upper part of the Moai Bed. And you can see over here again one of the large stones that makes up the stone wall that separates the upper and lower bed. Here we are about to enter the upper part of the Moai Bed, but I want to point out that there's an area here on the left that looks very empty. I'm storing a couple of things here. There were foxglove here, I pulled them out, but this is an area where we actually pulled out 10 peonies earlier this season and planted them in a different bed. We've been doing a lot of moving plants around, but of course this creates an opportunity now for me to put something else. But this area has some shade, so it has to be something that will be shade tolerant. Right next to it is garden phlox. And this is one that got moved from an area where the deer were going after it. Now, tall garden phlox can take a little bit of shade. This will probably get maybe about 6 hours of sun. It's morning right now, so it's in the shade. But we put it within this area so that we can protect it a little bit. Now, on the opposite side of the bed, there is a very, very tall buddleia. This is one that is going to have white flowers. It has a lot of buds on it, but it has not started blooming yet. I'm expecting by the end of July that we should see these flowers. This is a beautiful astilbe on this side. This one is the Visions in Pink. I think I mentioned in one of my previous videos that I really like this series. And here are more Echinacea. Now, this particular bed has got, I think, 4 types of Echinacea in it. It has Magnus, Powwow Wildberry, White Swan, and Cheyenne Spirit. And once again, you're going to see that some of these petals are certainly eaten, but I am not going to do anything about it at this point. Along here you can see that there are some that are very light purple and some that have a very saturated pink. The light purple are the Magnus. The saturated pink are the Powwow Wildberry. And the pure white, these are the White Swan. You can see the White Swan and you can see some Powwow Wildberry to the left of it. Now, Cheyenne Spirit has a variety of colors. You can get yellows, you can get orangey colors, and you can also get pinks. But it's usually a mixed bag with the Cheyenne Spirit. This is a very interesting wasp that is collecting pollen or nectar from the milkweed. You can see it's right next to some Cheyenne Spirit Echinacea and some Powwow Wildberry. There is also a nice big stand of Rudbeckia in here, which of course is just coming into bud and won't be flowering probably for another 3 weeks or so. Now, on this side, just above the Moai head, there's some Liatris, also called gay feather. And next to that are balloon flowers. Now, the balloon flowers are not really in bloom yet, but they are forming the buds from which they tend to get their name. They look like little balloons. From here you can see part of the lower bed as well. That is the Autumn Joy sedum that I had mentioned, as well as the daylily, a little bit more Echinacea, and on the upper part of the bed, again, more Echinacea. I absolutely love the Echinacea. I think it's a fabulous, fabulous flower. It also supports a lot of wildlife and birds with the seeds. You can see there's a variety of colors in here because we have that nice mix with the Cheyenne Spirit and the other types. And here is an example of some of what I have to go through to protect some of my plants from the deer. I absolutely love this daylily. I think it has a beautiful, beautiful gold flower, very large flower. But the deer can reach up over the top of this fence if they want to and bite off the buds. And in order to prevent that, I have taken some deer netting and attached it to the fence and just kind of looped it over the top of the daylilies to give them a little extra protection. And here is a lovely yellow tiger lily. I don't know what happened. I had a stand with several of them, and for some reason I've only got one this year. But the one that's here is quite beautiful. at the end of the bed are some roses, and these are ones that we cut back very, well, not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago, and you can see that they're now starting to rebloom. This one is called Candy Cane Cocktail. Has a beautiful bicolor flower. We also have a peace rose. Another very lovely one. And this one is an oh so easy Italian ice. And here at the edge of the wall, here is next year's crop of foxglove.